All right, I believe we are live. I'm going to just make sure everything is set. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wellbeing Wednesday. This is our quarterly Facebook Live here on Be Well, Care Well. And our theme for February is Caring in Community. So, my name is Haley Scharmann. I'm your host today. And today we have Samantha with Baptist Health Community Outreach joining us. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist, and she has a wealth of knowledge on how important it is to be connected with community resources, especially when it comes to nutrition. So thank you for joining, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. Well, so she's got a wealth of knowledge to share about all things caring in community. So we're going to get started today, really talking about different things that show that importance of it, and kind of guiding a little bit about how important it is for food and how that kind of joins us all. So let's get started with our first topic. From what you see in your work, how does strong community connection support overall well-being?
Yeah, um, you know, I think a lot of times whenever we think about health or we think about well-being, we definitely think about physical health. Am I eating the right things? Am I moving my body enough? I think nowadays we talk a lot about mental health and how important that is. But social health is kind of like that third pillar that I don't think we talk about quite enough, especially like today where we spend so much time kind of alone and on our phones that I think we're losing a lot of that. And it's such an important part of your health. We're humans, and humans have survived as a species because we live together, because we support each other. And so it's really in our DNA that that's how we survive and how we live is together in groups. So of course, there's like the practical aspect of having community support, sharing resources, being able to ask somebody for help, being able to share ideas. There's all that practical nature of social support, but it's also like in our hormones, actually. So whenever we are isolated, it's not just
Interesting.
like a feeling that we have, but long periods of isolation can actually increase the amount of cortisol that our body is producing. Cortisol is, of course, the stress hormone, and when you have really high levels of cortisol over an extended period of time, it can increase your risk for developing diseases like heart disease, and just can make you put a lot of wear on your body to make you not feel great. So yeah, isolation can have that negative effect on your body. But what's crazy is that just like being around other people, not only can it lower those cortisol levels, but it can actually increase your oxytocin levels. Oxytocin is the happy hormone. It's what makes us feel good. And so just being around other people, laughter, physical touch, those are things that can raise those oxytocin levels that can make us feel happier. So it's not just, a feeling, but it is truly like something physiological that's happening whenever we're spending time with each other.
Yeah, I can definitely relate that down deep feeling. I know as coaches, we constantly are telling our sites that we see. We are constantly telling them, how that ongoing stress hormone can really take an impact on your health, your overall health. It's chronic stress that typically does that. But I love how you've related that to that isolation can do that too. That's a deep science right there that just really hits home. And then how that oxytocin, that happy hormone, is something that is released whenever you're around others and when you are connecting socially. So that is a thing that really just makes it impact even more. So thank you for sharing that. I did not even realize how that can affect all that, especially being
Yeah.
snowed in with the winter weather.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if you've ever looked into like the idea of blue zones. These are like areas of the world where like people live a really long time, and they, have done research on like what is it about these areas that helps people live. Of course, nutrition and physical activity is important, but what they have found is just important as eating well is just that community connection. So in these places where people are living the longest, it's places where they have a really strong sense of community.
I that is so interesting. I have actually just recently looked into those blue zone, just that type of environment and that information, and I mean, it's very new to me, but I did just look into that, and it was very interesting to read, and I was like, I had no idea that that was really a thing, but that is so neat.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Well, I also just wanted to mention, I did not mention this earlier, but I just love how we are able to connect with you with Be Well Care Well. Our coaches are so thankful for our partnership with you and Baptist Health Community Outreach. I know several coaches have utilized the things that you all offer and your expertise and knowledge as well. And it's an ongoing partnership that has been so nice to have. So thank you for that. And just wanted to mention that before I forgot as we continued on. So,
I appreciate that.
yeah. Well, I would love to mention as well that many people in our community are caregivers or work in helping roles, especially those sites that we serve. We serve a lot of mostly early childhood educators, but we also serve several different types. So, with them having caring roles like that, why is community support especially important for them in that role?
Yeah, you know, caregiving is really I think of it as, like, emotionally expensive, because you are constantly, taking from your plate to put on somebody else's plate, and you're constantly pouring out to other people, and, as caregivers, like, that's what we're born to do, we have a heart for it, and it does bring us joy, but, at the same time, like, if you are doing it all day, every day, like, we only have so much, like, emotional capacity for that, right?
Exactly.
So, when you're constantly pouring out your energy, your empathy, your patience, all of those sorts of things, like eventually it does run out. So you really need community. You really need other people to help give that back to you so that you can continue to give it out, um, having that emotional connection, like we talked about before, it's kind of like, it's almost like gas in an engine for you, being around other people and sharing those experiences. I think that being around other people is really helpful too, and like kind of normalizing, all of the things that you may be feeling throughout the day or just in life as life happens to you. Normalizing that struggle, because when you're on your own and you feel like you are the only person experiencing this, again, that's a really isolating feeling, and it can kind of snowball a little bit,
Yes.
into we work it up in our heads as like this huge thing, but just having another person to be like, oh my gosh, I've been there, it's awful, and they may be able to say like, you may think about trying this because it really helped me a lot, but honestly, a lot of times just like being able to talk to somebody and share that with somebody can be, very helpful and kind of take the weight off of your shoulders a bit. Um,
I I can relate to that. I think that our, people that we serve, especially if they are early childhood educators that we serve, they can feel isolated because they are in a classroom all day
yes.
and they do have children around them. That's a little different than an adult connection, right? And then that
Yes.
isolation can really get to them as well, feeling alone, like they're in this alone, taking care of many different children. And so that isolation is definitely hard, but something that really hits me is that, being connected with their coworkers. There may not be a lot of time for that, but something
Mhm.
that we definitely do try to do with them is to, you know, help to form a connection within their workplace. And that I think goes a long way, even if it's just short moments, micro moments that they're able to connect with their coworkers. Maybe they've gotten their break and they're able to go to the break room, and their community there,
Mhm.
is something that when they are able to interact with others within their break room, or maybe they've been able to form a walking group. So when they're outside of the classroom at the end of the day before they go home, maybe they've formed a walking group within their workplace and their staff. But that can go even further than the workplace, right? That can be something that's within their neighborhood, within their, community in general. But I do see that it can be isolating for them within that classroom or whoever it is. But hopefully they are able to, that's something that we promote when we work through sites. They are able to work and connect with others.
Yeah, you mentioned something interesting, that a lot of these caregivers, they're in a classroom with children all day. And whenever you're speaking to young kids, like you are using different language, you're using different words than like you would use with an adult. And so I can see it being super helpful to be able to like go into that break room and have like a conversation like you would with another adult and kind of take a break from that. And
Mhm.
that could be a really helpful, just kind of rest for your brain a bit.
Yeah. Exactly. And something that we are deeply founded on is making connections and building relationships. And so this just ties. So this theme is just, it just hits at home. So we are just rooted in that, and it's super important with making those connections. Now, on the flip side, it can be too much sometimes. You do need probably some disconnection a little bit. You probably do need to be able to decompress at times. So on the flip side, that's just as important for some people, right?
Definitely, yeah. I know myself, I am an introvert and I really value my alone time and my, time to just sit in quiet and it means a whole lot. And it's just kind of that recharge time for sure.
Yeah, so that when that time to be social, is
Yes,
there, it's able to be its best, right? It's able to be taken in and have those happy hormones released or whatever. It is something that is that balance so that it's not something that is triggering or overwhelming. And then on the flip side, you can recharge like you need to as
definitely.
well. So I love that. Yeah. Well, let's get kind of into your jam, like I would like to say that, a little bit on that nutrition side, where we can talk about how food can connect us. So it's one way that I know that we all can relate in the community when there maybe is something like a death in the family or something like a tragedy happened or, the winter storm, like people aren't able to get out. So food is one way to connect us all. So how have you seen it's brought everybody together in some way, or how has it reduced stress beyond just nutrition?
Yeah, I'm a dietitian. I'm always going to tell you that nutrition is an important part of, our overall wellness and all that sort of stuff. When you eat better, you do feel better.
Yeah.
But food is so much more than just nutrition. It really
Mhm.
is. We don't just eat foods because they have protein in them or because they
Yeah.
have vitamin C in them or whatever it is. We eat food because we enjoy them, because they taste good, because they're part of our culture and our history. And so, I think that eating, obviously, as humans, everybody's got to eat, and eating together is kind of one of the things that I think that makes us human.
Yes.
Food is a symbol of, it's like a cultural hug, of course, it's like everything that we connect with, and our history, be that like our personal family history or the part of the world where we're from. It communicates so much, and it's really a symbol. I think of it as kind of a symbol of like safety and
Mhm.
security and comfort, whenever we think about like sitting down at the dinner table. It's kind of this like moment of rest and
Mhm.
reflection and just a time to like be with one another. That's why it's so important that we don't have our phones whenever we're eating meals, so that we can look at other people and talk and make eye contact and, really share about our day. It's also a way that we show people that we love them, just like you mentioned before, when,
Mm.
there's some sort of tragedy or the opposite, when somebody had a baby and you're so
Yeah,
excited, whatever it is,
true.
food is a way that we communicate love to people. Yeah, it's so powerful. And I think that it is so important whenever we think about eating well. I think one of the hardest parts of changing the way that we eat, is for thinking about trying to eat healthy, is like, especially in the South, we do this where there's healthy food and then there's food that tastes good that I like to eat. And we see them as these two separate things. And that's just not
Yeah.
the way that food is. And, it's all about experimenting to find that middle ground where, it has things that my body needs, but it also brings me joy, and experimenting is how you find where that happy medium is for you. But we can't just say, because food is such an important part of our lives and our identity and our culture and a way that we find joy in life, we're never going to make sustainable changes if we just say like, oh, I'm cutting out all of these foods that bring me joy. Like, don't do that. You will feel terrible. It's not going to work, I promise. And so I think that it's really important to recognize that emotional role that food plays in our life, and that's okay. And that's one of the things that makes us people.
Uh, Most definitely. So that really just resonates with me because you had mentioned that, um, you know, when you sit down at the dinner table, that should be recognized as a time to possibly relax for a minute, connect with those at the table with you. Just really have a one-on-one conversation, something that's natural, right?
Hmm.
And that is something that really I'm terrible at actually. We sit at the dinner table, but I end up sitting at the table maybe 5 minutes later than everybody else is ready to go, and I feel like I can't sit down till I've, either put away the milk that I used to cook with or put away this and that, and I cannot relax till I've done all that. So I need to remember, look, it's okay, like sit at the table, enjoy the conversations, be there, be in the moment, connect, and the food is right there nourishing your body all at the same time, and so that's important to telling myself to do this. I need that accountability to do that. So thank you for
Yes.
that good reminder on that for sure.
Well, my hot tip for you is to not be the only person who does all those things before you can sit down, but to get other people to put the milk away or whatever it is, get everybody involved in the meal, makes it easier on you. And then we can all sit down at the same time.
Amen, sister. I need that, and I will be sure to rewatch this to help me remember that as well. So thank you for that. And I will say that there are some comments coming in the chat as well. And so um, taking Robbie said literally taking a meal to a family battling cancer tomorrow, like a big
Oh,
hug of comfort, hopefully. So that is
absolutely.
very sweet of you to do that,
Very,
Robbie. But
very
yes,
sweet. Yeah.
that's a connection right there that that food correlates to something that will be something that is much needed for them at this time of need. So, and then Pam said cleanup can be a family affair. Yes, for
Yes.
sure. Most definitely.
Clean up
But
and prep, I'll say.
and prep for sure. So another thing you said about how food, like it can be healthy and taste good, and they're two separate entities, and that's not the case, right? I love that it sometimes is education related. It's just learning about what can taste good and be good for you, and you said that as
Hmm.
well. And so that's something that you do within your job, I believe, is that community education about it. Could you tell me a little bit more about some of the things that you guys kind of outreach and do?
Yeah, so at my job, I do several types of things. I would say the funnest part that I get to do are cooking classes. And what I love about cooking classes, I always focus on things that are easy to prepare, that are budget friendly, and most importantly, that taste good. Um, because I think that it's really easy to get stuck in a food rut, and it's like, oh, okay, these are the same 5 meals that I feel comfortable making, that
Especially
I know
being
my
snowed
family will
in for 2
eat.
weeks. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and that, like, they're comfort, and there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes it can be a little boring, or maybe we're trying to focus more on our health or whatever it is that's motivating us to think about changing the way that we eat. So, my cooking classes, I like doing cooking classes because they're an opportunity to take foods or ingredients that are familiar and maybe just prepare them in a slightly different way that maybe is a little bit better for our heart, or maybe has a little bit more fiber but is still like easy and delicious.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy, yeah, like getting to share that with people, and for people to try something and go like, oh, okay, like this does taste good, and then and it's still good for your body. Like, they're not two separate things. So I think so much of that is just about experience and a
Mhm.
little bit of like attitude shifting. And I really enjoy seeing that happen in person in real time. And I also like cooking classes because, like we were talking about before, like food is a shared activity, and it's just a way.
Yeah.
The cooking classes are a fun way to bring people together who otherwise I don't think would ever have like met up in life, but they both had an interest in learning how to cook whatever it is that we're making, and that's what brought them together. And it's just really fun to see all kinds of different people come together and then have this like joyful shared experience is a special thing.
I knew you had told me that. I know that we discussed some things last week, but I knew you had said that that is like one of the best feelings for you is just seeing them all to come together and learning a little bit about food, but really just connection. So
Hmm.
that is something that I bet that's very that is the happy hormones for you getting to watch all that come to fruition when you're at the classes.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I love helping people realize that like, nutrition to me is kind of like, of course it's fundamental, but it's really just sort of an accessory to whatever it is that we're eating because, there's all kinds of reasons that we choose the foods that we do, but mainly convenience, cost, and taste are the three big reasons. So I always like to try to focus on that, and then it just like happens to be good for your body is the way that I like
Yeah.
to think about it.
Well, that's a win-win then. I mean, yes, cost is a huge factor right now. Convenience
Absolutely.
for sure, people's busy, busy schedules. And then taste. I mean, you don't want to put something in your mouth if it doesn't taste good. So, um, yeah, and then you are able to tie that into it actually being healthy for you. That's a win-win. And it's interesting to think about, like, just cooking it a different way will provide it in a different, um, like, nutritional way. Like you said, it might be more, fiber that because you cooked it and prepared it a different way, it kept, maybe the fiber portion, a little bit more or whatever it is. You're the nutritionist for sure, but, that is so interesting to think about how prepping it and cooking it in a different way is nice to know. And those classes that you bring everybody in on probably is something that they, learn about on that. So I love that.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to teach is the idea that nutrition is always something that we can add. I think a lot of times when we think about healthy eating, we think about like, oh, I'm going to take away all this food and all these things I can't eat anymore. And as humans, we don't like that. That's just not the way that our brains are wired. If I say, no more cheeseburgers, cheeseburgers, they're bad for your heart. We're not eating any more cheeseburgers. What are we all thinking? It's lunchtime and a cheeseburger sounds really good right now, right? Like
Mhm,
our
mhm.
brains just do not like restriction like that. But it's important to remember that nutrition is always something that we can add. We can always put some extra fruits or veggies on the plate, or try to choose a whole wheat bun instead of a white bun. Whatever works for you. It's all about
Yeah.
figuring out. If you really hate white bread or wheat bread, then don't eat wheat bread. There's all kinds of other whole grains that you could
Mhm.
choose from. So yeah, nutrition is always something that we can put more of on the plate.
I love that instead of restricting it and feeling like it's taken away. That's a great
Mhm.
mindset and positive mind shift for sure. So I love that. Yeah. Well, speaking of, we've been kind of talking about the social connection and the physical well-being that those tie in together. So, with Be Well, Care Well, we are based on the 8 dimensions of well-being. So, a lot of this hits numerous different dimensions. So, for someone listening today, what is one small step they could take this week to strengthen their overall well-being and really tying it into their sense of community?
Okay, so this is like not a super profound thing. This is just something that I've like personally been doing in my life and that has brought
Mhm.
me joy and my family joy, and has been like just a really like easy way to like connect with people that like I don't they live far away or we're just not seeing each other every day, but they're still really important to me. Is I've been asking people to send me photos of their pets. I have a 3-year old, so she loves seeing them. Videos even better, so I love getting to show her those.
I love
But it's just like a really like low stakes way to like check in with somebody, and we all take pictures of our pets, right? Like our phones loaded
right.
up with them, and people love sharing them. So it's one of my like favorite things to do. I did it a lot last week whenever we were in our ice storm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a simple reach out. There's other things you can do, ask for a recipe, a recommendation for, a new book or something
I
like that.
love
But
that.
pet photos has been my thing lately.
Oh my gosh, I do love that. I mean, you say that ask for a recipe or, ask for pictures of their snow, whatever it is. You're speaking to somebody who loves dogs, who loves pets, and I'm all about snapping photos of my dog Teeter. Um, a lot of my coworkers know that she's kind of always there in our meetings, popping on whenever it is. So that makes my heart happy. The connection to that too, there's all kinds of ways to connect. Social media, it can have a positive outcome for people. It really can. So there's this one group that I follow that's called Dog Spotting Society, and it's all about just people sharing photos of their pets. And that brings me joy, and that's happy, and I comment in there and share in the comments to their post a little silly, photo, but, that is one way to connect, and those are from people all over. I don't know these people,
Uh-huh,
that is
uh-huh.
a wonderful thing, but connecting with my family a little bit more, that aren't close by, so yeah, like sharing photos or asking them to share photos, recipes for sure, so that is one. I'm glad that that's bringing you joy, and I love that and how it's just on the personal level working for you, so I do love that. Thank you. We've
Yeah.
got some people commenting as well. Let's see. Okay, Robin said kid photos and pet photos make her happy. Well, of course, yes, for sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, and then, talking about meals again, someone shared that meals, that you don't have to make because whenever they're in poor health or whatever it is, but a meal train, that a community member did, helped her after staying in the hospital. This is Julie commenting that. So
Yeah,
that is a
yeah,
great, wonderful connection. So thankful
absolutely.
that you were able to have that, Julie. That's great. So all right. Well, I want to make sure that everybody can connect with you going on from here. So we do have that shared in the chat. So anybody that's watching this now, be sure to check the chat for all that information. A lot of people aren't able to watch right now. They've got their busy work day, but they do come back to our recordings. So we've got that in the chat. So it is a connection to the Facebook page for Baptist Health Community Outreach to connect more, just in general with Samantha or whatever you guys offer. So I want to make sure that that is there. Um, I'm looking in the chat for any other questions. Oh, we've got some more people joining right now.
Hey,
Tori, um,
Tori.
yeah, looking forward to see you in March. Yes, we do. I know I mentioned this before, but we are so thankful for our work with you and our sites connection to you. That is making a difference, and to the Baptist Health Community Outreach. But I know cooking classes and different things that you guys offer, our sites are hitting their goals because of it. They have a lot of goals with learning how to eat better. Just connecting to community resources in general. And so we are thankful for you doing
Yes, I love it. It's my favorite thing.
that. Of course, of course. Okay, well, we just got a couple more minutes. Is there anything else you would like to share to make sure to leave like one extra thing that just came to mind throughout this conversation today?
Yeah, my big thing with food, I'm going to talk about food. I'm a dietitian. My
Of
big
course.
thing with food is always like, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And so,
Uh-huh.
sure, maybe we could make, in the perfect world, we could make this perfectly healthy food, but that's not the world that we live in. And so, just because it's not perfect doesn't mean we can't try to do just one little thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we as coaches as well share that it's not always about the big things, the small things matter. And
Absolutely.
just showing yourself grace. For
Yes.
instance, we have a lot of staff that just really want to work on getting their water. intake to be better. And we tie that into a challenge, which then connects the staff together, whether they're very competitive or whether they are just more encouraging. That's a win-win. But they really struggle. Sometimes people forgot to track their water that day or forgot
Mhm,
to get their
mhm.
water just one of the days, and then they feel defeated for the rest of the month. And we
Yeah.
constantly have to remind them it's not about being perfect. If you made one day really great, the next day not, pick it back up the next after that. So I love that you
Yes,
shared that. It's not about perfection. Small things matter, making those small steps and strides, right?
absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing. All right, everybody. So we're going to wrap up our conversation. We want to thank you all for joining us, and especially thank you to you, Samantha, for joining us today. If you weren't able to join live, we do record this. It'll be uploaded to our YouTube page as well. So we'll be sure to share all that, and it'll be saved here on our Be Well Care Well page. If you do want to connect further with us with Be Well Care Well, we do have that in the comments as well. So please click that link in the comments that Robbie shared. That will help you stay connected, all things Be Well Care Well. And like I said earlier, Samantha's information with Baptist Health Community Outreach is there. There is a link in the chat as well. So thank you all for joining us. And we'll have, these are quarterly Wellbeing Wednesdays. So we'll have another one, not next month, but we will be reaching out here on our page, just kind of communicating when our next one will be. So, anyways, thank you all for joining us, and hope you all stay warm and have a wonderful day.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.